I don't watch the Emmys. I don't watch these shows. I'll cut back and forth. I read the comments and the tweets and all this. I want to know who's winning, who's losing, blah, 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 blah. I felt like I was literally relaxing. I'm enjoying football. My team is winning. And then I'm starting to get text messages. I'm looking on Twitter and I'm just like, it's happening again. I can't believe that it is happening again. Again. And there's so many things that have happened in regards to anti-Jewishness and just pro-dumbness. Because that's a real thing. There's anti-Jewishness and then there's actual pro-dumbness. There's pro-dum-dums. Useful dum-dums out here. And when it's coming from my business, the same people that I work with, that I could work with, that I'm fans of, that we share the same health insurance, we're in the same union, when I see it done in such a embarrassing, blatant, uninformed, uneducated way, maybe I'm just a sucker. Maybe I'm just fool me once, shame on you, keep fooling me, then I'm definitely a part asshole. I'm going to take responsibility for being part. And I don't expect the unexpected. I expect things to get better. I expect people to inform themselves. I'll start with Javier Bardem, the great Javier Bardem. He's an excellent actor. No Country for Old Men, Vicky Cristina Barcelona, one of my favorite Woody Allen movies ever, directed by Woody Allen, who's a Jew. And so forth and so on. I mean, Javier Bardem, Dune, tons and tons and tons. He's in that F1 movie with Brad Pitt. He's a great actor. He's an excellent actor. Can't say anything about him as an actor, but he shows up to the Emmys with a keffiyeh scarf wrapped around him, cosplaying his statement of Palestinian. The keffiyeh scarf, I'm not even going to the history of the keffiyeh scarf. It actually has nothing to do with Palestine. However, he wanted to show up with a keffiyeh scarf. I say, first of all, to the great Javier Bardem, when you're going to a Black Lives Matter rally, if you ever do, wear an Afro wig. What's with the outfits? What's with the costume, the scarf? He came there, he's, I'm going to wear the scarf and I'm going to raise the fist. And Javier Bardem is one of 3,000 plus actors, including the great Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin Phoenix is another one who goes to vigils. Joaquin Phoenix is an outspoken vegetarian or vegan. He goes to pig vigils. You can look it up. Look up Joaquin Phoenix at Farmer John pig vigils in Los Angeles, California. I've been there. My friend Toby took me to these pig vigils, and it is a dramatic thing. It is pretty intense, where they'll show these little pigs being brought into the Farmer John's market, and people will go out there and they'll feed them water before they're slaughtered. And I think I talked about it on the podcast before. Joaquin Phoenix, who's a very outspoken vegan vegetarian, he's gone to these vigils. He cries. He's moved by them. We know Joaquin Phoenix has dealt with trauma and tragedy in his life. Great actor. He's another person who signed this letter last week. And Javier Bardem is so fired up about all things Israel, all things Gaza, all things Palestine, except for the hostages. That's one thing that Javier Bardem, Joaquin Phoenix, and so many people from my industry have not said a word about, is freeing the hostages, because they can't say free the hostages because Hamas does not give a about Javier Bardem. Hamas does not give a about Annie Lennox. Hamas does not give a about Alan Cummings. Hamas does not give a shit about any of you. They don't give a shit about the people in Qatar. They don't give a shit about themselves. They're not going to listen to you. So if you say free the hostages, Javier Bardem, Joaquin Phoenix, leaders of Qatar, they don't listen. They don't listen. They don't give a about what you say, Javier Bardem, Joaquin Phoenix, and the rest of you. They don't care. But not one of these people in any of these award shows, Saturday Night Live, not one of these people has said, free the hostages. Let's try freeing the hostages. Let the hostages go. We care so much about the innocent people of Gaza. We care so much about the people of Palestine. We care so much about this, that, and the third. We've been screaming and yelling for 700 plus days now. It's not working. So now let's try, because you guys care so much. You guys care so much about the people of Gaza. Why don't you say, free the hostages, please, Hamas? Free those hostages so your civilians can live in peace and stop being, quote unquote, slaughtered and genocided. You won't say that. The hostages, 48 people remain in Gaza 700 and plus days. They don't matter to you. You don't give a about them because they deserved it, right? But Javier Bardem, the great Javier Bardem, again, excellent actor, great actor, totally unique, one of a kind, iconic actor. Can't speak highly enough about his work. I'm a huge fan of Javier Bardem. Javier Bardem showed up with his keffiyeh scarf. Again, I suggest Javier Bardem show up with an Afro wig at the next Black Lives Matter march that he goes to. And he said, I cannot work with somebody that justifies or supports the genocide. I can't. It's as simple as that. And we shouldn't be able to do that in this industry or any other industry. Javier Bardem, Joaquin Phoenix, and 3,000 other actors, performers signed a letter saying they will not work with anybody that's in business with Israel. And then Javier Bardem went on to say today in Madrid in Spain, he said something in Spanish. I'm not even going to try to do it. At the bicycle tour, it was stopped by thousands and thousands and thousands of people on the streets marching, saying we can't allow the team from Israel to be in this tour. You can't allow the cyclists from Israel to be in this tour. So the cyclists, the innocent cyclists who probably have discrepancies with the government of Israel, they shouldn't be allowed to compete. And you're not going to work with anybody that has anything to do with Israel. He said, the world has changed and what we're witnessing is a genocide. And as I said, it is a genocide in 4K. It's being shot in 4K live on a daily basis. This has to stop. It's being shot in 4K live on a daily basis, Javier Bardem. Just like October 7th. October 7th was shot and broadcasted in 4K, glorious 4K. And I don't know if you've seen the footages. You seem informed. You seem like you care, but I don't think you really do. Have you seen that 4K footage from October 7th? Javier Bardem? Did you see the slaughter? Did you see that? Did you see the violence? Did you see the people shooting down, gunning down, cheering gleefully? And you're talking about this event in Spain, a bicycle event where people, they weren't just protesting. It got a little violent. And you support them protesting, fighting, getting a little violent to not allow the cyclists from Israel to compete in that event in Spain. You support that. So you're cool with that. So if somebody came up to you, Javier Bardem, and let's just say smacked the out of you. Let's just say somebody smacked the out of you. How do you respond to that? God forbid somebody came up to your gorgeous wife, the great, beautiful Penelope Cruz, and pushed her. How do you respond to that? Javier Bardem. And if you're saying, and I quote, I won't work, I cannot work with somebody that justifies or supports the genocide. And I believe he went on to say not individuals, but he basically said, this letter said they will not support any company, they will not work with any company that is in business with Israel. What about a person that is fully supportive of Israel? What about a person like myself that is fully in support of Israel, doing anything it can to get its people back and to protect the sovereignty of Israel. Do I get to work with you, Javier Bardem? Joaquin Phoenix? Because the way it works in my business, I'm going to keep it real with you guys. The way it works in my business is like that. It's like this. There's a pedestal. Okay. So let's say that the great Joaquin Phoenix and the great Javier Bardem are doing a cop movie in New York. Okay. And they're the stars. They're the stars of this cop movie in New York. And there's a supporting part for another cop. Let's just say a tall, 6'3", staggering, good-looking, blonde-haired, green-eyed New York cop. Lanky, staggering good looks, who's 55 years old, who's got, slightly graying hair, but who's still incredibly good-looking. Michael Rapaport type. So Joaquin Phoenix and Javier Bardem, if you're doing this cop movie in New York and the director goes, you know who would be good to do the supporting part of, let's just say, Murray or Shlomo? The character's name is Shlomo. Let's just say this is just a made up movie. The director goes to Javier Bardem and Joaquin Phoenix. You know who would be good to play the part of Shlomo in this New York film? Michael Rapaport. What are you going to say, Javier Bardem? What are you going to say, Joaquin Phoenix? What are the rest of you going to say when you know somebody like myself openly, proudly stands by Israel to get each and every one of the hostages back and to defend itself? What are you going to say? Are you going to say, great? Or are you going to say no? You're going to say, I think you're probably going to say, we can't work with him. Michael Rapaport, he supports Israel. Michael Rapaport, he's been in Israel this many times. Michael Rapaport supports the genocide. Says you. Says you. Because I'm not going to go into details. It happened to me once before. There was a film. This was maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And it's funny. There was a film starring a very big comedic actor. I was offered the part. I was offered the part of a film. And lo and behold, they pulled the offer. And it got back to me because it is a small business. Our industry is small. It's tiny. Everybody knows everybody. And it got back to me that this very big comedic actor said, I don't want to work with Rapaport. And we dug, we pushed, we found out, we twisted arms. And it got back to me that the person said, I don't want to work with Rapaport because of the things he has said about Trump. Now, you say, Mike Rapp, why don't you sue them? It ain't that easy. Mike Rapp, that's fucked up. Yeah, it is fucked up. But I personally believe Javier Bardem and the rest of these people that have signed that letter, if my name or any other actor's name gets brought up to be in a project that they're associated with, they're producing, they're acting in, and because there is a pecking order, Javier Bardem, Joaquin Phoenix, these are bigger stars than me. If you run the name Michael Rapaport up the flagpole for Javier Bardem and Joaquin Phoenix, I'm not going to get cast. I'm not going to get cast. It could be a 55-year-old, 6'3" New Yorker with staggering good looks, a thick New York accent, and a shit-talking attitude. And we want a familiar face. And we want a reddish blonde hair with a little bit of gray on the side. A Michael Rapaport type. And the director goes to Javier Bardem and Joaquin Phoenix. What about Michael Rapaport? He's available. What are you two and the rest of you going to say? You just said you won't work with anybody that, in your opinion, supports this genocide that's not proven. You said that. You said that publicly and proudly. You raised your fist with your keffiyeh scarf on. You guys all signed the letter. You just put out a video saying, Palestine, Palestine, Gaza, Gaza. You're crying and all that shit. Now, one of you motherfuckers has said, free the hostages. Where does that leave me, Michael Rapaport? The great, iconic actor. I'm good at my job. You might not like me. You might not like all the things I say or how I say them, but I am very good at my job and I'm professional. I show up not just on time, I show up early And I'm skipping when I'm on set. I'm happy to be there. Never taking a day for granted at work. Where does that leave me if you motherfuckers are going to say, we're not going to work with this one, we're not going to work with that one? And when does it stop? When does it end? When does it stop? When does it end? Everything I just said is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Period. Point blank. I'm not even going to talk about that young girl, Hannah, whatever her name is, the one who won the Emmy for Hacks, who's Jewish, LGBTQ, and said free Palestine. I can't even, there's other people that could talk to her. She's just completely uninformed, but the reality is you're saying free Palestine. You won't say free the hostages. There's women in there. There's girls your age that were kidnapped, brutalized. There's girls your age that were killed, murdered on October 7th. There's girls your age that were held for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of days and that were sexually assaulted, and you haven't even acknowledged them. And any Jewish LGBTQ man or woman that has the stupidity, I don't even say the audacity, that's stupid enough to say free Palestine, trust me, I've said this a bunch of times. If you're Jewish, there is no free Palestine for you. If you're Jewish and gay, if you're Jewish and LGBTQ, there's no free Palestine for you. You don't exist there. I heard you don't exist there. You can say free Palestine all you want with your bags and your stickers and your pins and your keffiyeh scarves and your watermelons and you protest and you're whining and complaining. You get tossed off buildings in Palestine. You're Jewish and LGBTQ, any LGBTQ, any of them, you don't exist in Palestine. You don't exist in Gaza. Period. So you support people that do not want you, will not let you exist. That's who you support? The fuck is going on here, man? Start with free the hostages. Free the hostages. Tell your people to free the hostages. Tell the leaders, it's not a government, tell the leaders, the terrorist organization Hamas, who the UN doesn't even acknowledge as a terrorist organization, the UN doesn't acknowledge Hamas as a terrorist organization. Say, Hamas, free the hostages, please. Hamas, free the hostages, you dumb baboon, savage, arson, rapist, murdering, kidnapping fucks. Please free the hostages so the innocent civilians and their lives can be saved. Please free the hostages. You won't say it. But so many of these artists in the last 2 years have showed up with this pin. You see this pin? There's a pin. It's a famous pin, infamous pin, a red hand. That red hand, the reason why it's red is blood, handprints of blood. And I'm just going to read to you what it is. That girl, Hannah Edbunder, whatever her name is, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I've seen Billie Eilish, Mahershala Ali, the great actor, Mark Ruffalo. So many of them have worn this pin, the pin that glorifies Aziz Salah, the terrorist killer who murdered 2 Israelis in Ramallah and raised his blood-soaked hands in celebration, proudly raising his blood-soaked hands. Actual blood-soaked hands. You're wearing a pin of a guy who killed 2 Jews, and people were so elated, screaming and yelling. He showed, look at my hands. This is the blood of Jews. I killed them. That's the pin you're wearing? I need to get you guys a Derek Chauvin pin. Joaquin Phoenix, Mark Ruffalo, Derek Chauvin. We need to get Derek Chauvin on his knee. On his knee. Would you wear that pin? Or what about a Rodney King baton pin? Would you wear that pin, or just a noose? Would you wear that pin? No, and they'll be like, oh, well, it doesn't mean this. It says you. The guy that was doing this, showing his blood-soaked hands, he meant what he said. And that pin was a celebration of the death of Jews. It was a celebration of death, period, but specifically the death of Jews. And you wear that pin in 2025, proudly, in public. Get these motherfuckers Derek Chauvin pins. Derek Chauvin, the cop who had his knee on the back of George Floyd. Get them that pin. Would you wear that? That's what it means to Jews. And you're wearing that pin publicly. This shit's crazy to me. I can't believe this shit. This is crazy. I need to get these motherfuckers a Rodney King being hit with a baton pin. Wear that. Look, well, it doesn't mean that. Just like globalize the intifada doesn't mean, it means what it means. Globalize the intifada means what it means. You can't fucking keep reinterpreting, reimagining, remaking, re-envisioning what these pins mean and what these sayings mean. White boy, American motherfucker. It doesn't mean that. It means, get the fuck out of here. It means what it means. Globalize the intifada means kill Jews by any means necessary. That pin with the blood-soaked hands means what it means.
I am Rapaport Podcast.